Hi everyone, welcome back to Newegg TV. My name is Paul. Today I'm going to be doing an overview on this new motherboard from BIOSTAR. This is the BIOSTAR TZ77XE3. So as you can see here from the box, BIOSTAR has set this motherboard up to be overclocking friendly. Just to go over some of the logos we have arrayed here across the front. You get solid capacitors, you get 13-phase power delivery, THX True Studio Pro sound. Of course, this will support Intel Core processors, i3, i5, and i7 with the 1155 socket. That means it will be backwards compatible with second generation Core processors, aka Sandy Bridge. Also forward compatible with the new line of Ivy Bridge processors, aka third generation Intel Core i3, i5, and i7 processors. You get the Z77 chipset, you get native support for NVIDIA SLI. You also get PCI Express Generation 3 support, and that is only if you're going to be using an Ivy Bridge processor. Another benefit of the Z77 chipset is Intel Smart Response technology, which allows you to set up an SSD to cache for your mass storage hard drive and speed up the performance of that. You also get Virtue MVP, so you can actually use this to switch back and forth between the integrated GPU in your Ivy Bridge processor and a discrete GPU if you use an add-on video card. Let's see if we have any other information on the back. Some other stuff we already covered, but you also get gigabit LAN. You get native USB 3.0 support by virtue of the Z77 chipset. You get the UEFI implementation set up by BIOSTAR. And that's probably about it for the box. Let's take a look at accessories next. So inside the box here we have a driver disk, so you can load your drivers off of this disk. You will definitely want this at least to load up your internet driver so you can connect to the internet for your LAN. You will then probably want to go over to the BIOSTAR website to download the latest versions of the drivers. Since this is a new chipset, they're probably going to be doing updates, and you want to make sure you have maximum compatibility. You also get a user's manual here, which will guide you through installation process. Also goes over a lot of the features of the motherboard, so keep that on hand while you're doing your build. They have included some serial ATA cables. And they've also given you a BIOSTAR cable tie, Velcro cable tie. I love those because they're easily reusable. You can easily undo them if you want to add some more cables to your cable management. You get 4 yellow serial ATA cables here. They do have latches. Those will be compatible with serial ATA revision 1, 2, or 3. You get an input-output shield for the back of your case. It's got a black background and clearly labeled inputs and outputs. You get a two-way SLI adapter here. It's a rigid PCB version, so if you're going with a 2-card NVIDIA solution and you want an SLI setup, you can use that bridge. If you're going to go with Crossfire X, which is also natively supported, those Crossfire X bridges generally come with the Crossfire video card. They've also included, hello. Oh. They just wanted to prove me wrong. They've also included a Crossfire bridge with this motherboard. Don't usually see that with the motherboard, but there you have it. You're set up for Crossfire X or SLI. Let's take a look at the motherboard itself. So here's a look at the TZ77XE3 overall. As you can see, there is a flat black PCB that the board's built on, and they have, for the most part, black sockets as well as black heat sinks with some orange highlights. To point out the fan headers, you get 3 of them overall. You get a 4-pin fan header for your CPU right here, chassis fan header in the 3-pin variety right here, and then one more chassis fan 3-pin header right down here at the bottom. Let's go over the features of the board in detail. We'll start down here on the bottom right. And first off, you got your front panel headers here. They are indicated which is which on the PCB, which is nice. They're also color-coded so you can tell which one is which. You've got some surface-mounted power and reset buttons right here, so you can use those if you're doing an outside-of-the-box build to turn the system on or reset it, so very handy to have those in place. You get a couple USB 2.0 headers, so one right here and one right here, and those will power up to 4 USB front panel or rear panel ports if you want to plug in a bracket in the back or front panel USB ports in the front. You also get a COM header right here, the aforementioned system fan header, infrared header, and an SPDIF header. You also get a USB 3.0 20-pin port right here, and that will supply connection for a front panel 20-pin USB 3.0 to power a couple ports, and that is powered by the Z77 chipset. Moving over here to the, I was going to do PCI slots, but I did also want to point out your front panel audio header right over there on the left side to connect your front panel mic and headphones. To the PCI slots right here, you have a variety available to you, so starting with the full-length PCI Express X16 slots, you get one here, one with triple spacing down there, and then another one triple spaced down there all the way at the bottom. Now bear in mind that the functionality of your PCI Express slots is going to vary depending on what processor you use. If you go with a Sandy Bridge processor or 2nd gen, these will run at PCI Express Gen 2 speeds. You can up your bandwidth available for PCI Express by going with an Ivy Bridge or a 3rd generation Intel Core processor, and that will provide PCI Express Gen 3 speeds for these, which effectively doubles your bandwidth and also improves the operating efficiency of that transfer of data between the PCI slots and the processor. You get a couple X1 slots right here in between the two full-length ones, and then you get a couple legacy PCI slots there for your legacy devices. Now if you're going to go with a Crossfire or SLI setup, you will probably want to be using these top 2 full-length PCI Express slots. If you're running a single card, this top one will run at 16 speed. If you go with a 2-card setup, they'll run at 8 speed each, which still should be more than enough bandwidth for any of today's video cards, even the PCI Express Gen 3 ones. Moving on to the right, underneath the BIOSTAR logo here is our Z77 chipset. That's going to be controlling a variety of things. Mainly, or not, I shouldn't say mainly, but one of the things that controls is the serial ATA ports right here. Before I go into those, I do want to point out there's also a surface-mounted debug LED right there. So when you're getting your system set up, you can use debug codes there to determine if there are any problems and figure out what might be the cause. Speaking of which, right below that we have the 6 serial ATA ports. They're all facing directly out, but they're positioned low enough here that even if you have a 2-card long video card in the 2nd slot there, you should still be able to access them. The 4 ports on the left here are serial ATA revision 2, that's 3 gigabit per second, and the 2 ports over here on the right are serial ATA revision 3, 6 gigabits per second. Moving up the side of the board here, we have our main 24-pin power connector. To the left of that are our DDR3 slots. This board supports dual-channel DDR3 DIMMs. It supports DIMM capacities of up to 8 gigabytes, so if you want to, you can populate all 4 with 8 gig DIMMs, and that will give you up to 32 gigabytes max. It does support the verified DDR3 speeds with the Intel Core processor of up to 1600 speed. You can also do DDR3 overclock speeds of 1866, 2133, or 2400. Moving over to the left, we have the 1155 socket right there with its retention arm and bracket. And again, that will support 2nd gen or 3rd gen Intel processors, Sandy Bridge or Ivy Bridge. Directly above that and to the left, we can see the power delivery area. So all of the phases there which have heat sinks directly above them to keep them cooled down. And then to the left of those, we have the 8-pin supplemental CPU power connector. You'll definitely want to plug that in, particularly if you're going to be overclocking with this board, as it's vital. If you have a 4-pin connector, you can still use that. Your mileage may vary, though, depending on what processor you have installed, how much juice it's pulling, and depending on what sort of frequencies you have the CPU set to. Moving on here to the rear input-output panel. On the left side here, we have a couple USB 2.0 ports. You have a PS2 port there for a legacy mouse or keyboard. You have 3 video outputs here, and that's for the integrated GPU in your Sandy Bridge or Ivy Bridge processor. So you get an HDMI out, DVI out, as well as a 15-pin D-sub connector there for a VGA out. Here you have your other 2 USB 3.0 ports from the Z77 chipset facing the rear. You also get a couple more USB 2.0 ports, the gigabit LAN port right there, and your audio outs for analog audio connection, which supports up to 7.1 surround sound. And that's going to wrap it up for this video. Once again, this has been the BIOSTAR TZ77XE3 with the Z77 chipset and the 1155 socket for either 2nd generation Intel Core processors or 3rd generation Intel Core processors. I'm Paul with Newegg TV. If you enjoyed today's video, please head over to our Newegg YouTube channel and don't forget to subscribe for more tech videos. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.